And a hakafis, he tried to catch a place for hakafis. I went up there, some friends, one or two friends, and he chose later we were told, one of the most dangerous places in the 770, between the Russian and the French bleacher. It was like, no, the Russians, they were very good, the Russians. They were very kind. And the Rebbe comes into Ma'ariv for Shmini Atzeres. Comes to this place quiet. Later years didn't happen anymore. Oilam was singing. But till a certain year, I don't know what year, it was quiet, and the Rebbe himself would begin a niggin before Ma'ariv and Shmini Atzeres. So the Rebbe comes in, puts down the siddur, turns around, and by the way, there's one recording on the Gunei Svados, the Rebbe singing that niggin, and the way the crowd roars in, joins together, that mamash reminds me of that scene. The way the Rebbe starts the niggin, and the whole crowd, it was a roar together. They all start singing. There's our Ma'ariv, then they announce my Hakafis will begin at 9:30. Till Lamed Ches is 9:30. After Lamed Ches started the 9 o'clock. Right, there we came to Hakafis. Here the Rebbe saying Atar Reisa. It was, everything is an experience. It's hard to remember everything.
One second. I want to stop you for a second. So this year, after Simchas Torah, there was something going around WhatsApp that an Israeli had recorded. You heard it? An Israeli had a tape recorder at Hakafis. So therefore, I was able to hear for the first time in my life what they say is the Rebbe saying Ato Haresa, right? And from the sound of it, the Rebbe is shouting so loud. It's unbelievable to think about it. I mean, so loud, on top of his lungs, if you could say such a thing, and such a high on such a high note. It's like, is that what it was like?
I would say, and don't forget the shul is packed. 3/4 of the shul will be able to hear the Rebbe saying Atar Reisa, at least. If it was very quiet, maybe all the way to the back. I don't know. But this particular recording that you're talking about, this is from Tafshin Mem, they have a drop of Atar Reisa. Atar Reisa is the first pasuk is lower. By the time it came to the end, it was V'hoya Zaracha, the Rebbe screaming.
That's what it is, V'hoya Zaracha, right?
Yeah.
Right, the recording is V'hoya Zaracha. Yeah, screaming.
Yeah.
What does that even look like? What does that look like? The Rebbe is facing the wall, or he's facing the crowd?
Facing the wall, like davening. He's facing Mizrach. The siddur is in front of him. It's like davening. So you couldn't see the Rebbe's face. If you're on the side, you could see a little bit.
So that recording is a recording of the Rebbe's voice as the Rebbe is facing the wall. It means it's really loud. It's even louder than I'm thinking.
Yeah. Personally, the Rebbe would use, I would say, I'll tell you why I think so. The Rebbe would use something to reflect his voice, to bounce his voice off. Facing the wall acts as a bounce for the Rebbe's voice. But I noticed on Sukkos, the Sukkos Sichas, and even especially in later years, when they started putting a second stender for the Rebbe. In the early years, the Rebbe would stand by his davening stender, put his arm on the stender and would like lean against the wall. So in a sense, the Rebbe's thing, when you stand straighter, your voice, goes easier. Later, they would put a stender. The reason why they put the stender was because of the Sukkah Sichas. The Rebbe should be so much closer to the rest of the crowd. But the Rebbe was bent over a little bit. But I noticed always the Shabbos Sichas, the Rebbe would have a siddur right under him. Whereas the Chalamoid Sichas, where there's a microphone, the siddur would be at the side. To me, it looked like that he's using the siddur to bounce his voice, because the cover of the stender, it absorbs the voice. It's not going to bounce it. The siddur is flat, so it'll bounce the voice. My personal opinion.
Interesting.
But I know this. The Shabbos Yom Tov Sichos, it was right in front of him, and the Sukkah Sichos was on the side. I noticed that again and again. It's not just one time. Just a personal observation. Here the Rebbe was facing the wall, but the Rebbe would scream. The Psukim, he would not scream. Like, and that's already at the end. Imagine each pasuk goes louder and louder. The tev of people, as you're going, you go louder.
But did the Rebbe say all the psukim? The Rebbe said the first and the last.
Once. Simchas Torah night and Simchas Torah day, the Rebbe would say the whole of the first Atar Esa, all 17 psukim. And the other 2 times, the Rebbe would say just the first and the last. Shmini Atzeres night, the Rebbe would say for all 3 times Atar Esa, the Rebbe would say just the first and last. So Simchas Torah night, Simchas Torah day.
So you're saying that the V'haya Zaracha is at the end of the Rebbe saying all the psukim?
No. V'haya Zaracha, in my memory, was after all the 3 times saying Atar Esa, then the Rebbe would say V'haya Zaracha 3 times, one after another. This guy recorded only one V'haya Zaracha. Maybe there's more, it hasn't come out yet. But
it's unbelievable because you think about how little. I mean, I was at Hakafis when I was young, and it was Shmini Atzeres, and it was Tavshun and Beis. I could barely see anything. It was, I mean, I'm very glad that I was there, and I'm eternally grateful for the people that brought me there. But I didn't see Hakafis. I didn't see. And it's amazing how much happened there that is Eine B'Doime, that's incomparable to anything else that happened the rest of the year. Like, for instance, this shouting the psukim. I wonder what else was so unusual that you can't even compare it to anything else throughout the year.
I mean, Simchas Torah itself is a it's a, by the way, I don't know if this is important for what you want to hear now, but for the Deher, well, before the Deher, as I say, the forerunner, 11 with the Rebbe, the guy who's in charge, Jacobs, I forgot which Jacobs was, Mendel Jacobs, I think. He asked me to help him. Whatever I can, I'll help you. And I helped him, what I remember, Shoshana and Kippur, Sukkot, came to Simchas Torah, I said, I can't help you. So you can't describe Simchas Torah. So he says, anyway, he left me alone that year. The next year, he calls me up again. He says, you have to help me. Everyone I talk to does not want to say anything about Simchas Torah. You can't describe it. I said, I'll do whatever I can. But I want to give you 3 introductions. I'm not going to give you all 3. But I'll tell you just, B'kitzer, one introduction is Reb Pinchas Reizes describes the Alter Rebbe's Yechidas HaKafos in Likutei Diburim. You can look it up over there. It's brought down in the Nissen Mendel's Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. You can read there how he describes the Alter Rebbe's Yechidas HaKafos. And another introduction, whatever, I might say with the Reb Pinchas Koretzer, basically the Nakuda is that when you spend Shabbos to the Reb Pinchas Koretzer, you are spending, he is bringing you into his Shabbos. When we were Simchas Torah by the Rebbe, you felt the Rebbe is bringing you into his Simchas Torah. It's indescribable because you saw the Rebbe's bringing you, he's pulling you to where he is, or at least somewhat. The Rebbe's eyes, especially I was talking to some friends about Simchas Torah Tashin Memches, which is the last time I was able to be there. And that was a meyuchadik Simchas Torah more than any other Simchas Torah. I asked people, one of my wife's uncles, Eli Tenenbaum, and he said he remembers from Tashin Yud Dalet. He said there was never a Simchas Torah like Tashin Memches. So there the Rebbe's eyes were burning. It was like, and again, go describe something. It's a ruchnistic experience. You can't describe it. I want to tell you something which is very funny. There was a book which they printed in Israel. It's called Rebbe. Thick book. And in there, all kinds of articles, newspaper interviews, whatever. So I just remember one article from there. Pity I never bought the book. I don't have it. But I remember one article in there. This is a newspaper reporter, and you've read it. He says, I don't understand something. I'm hearing year after year that the Rebbe's hakafas are indescribable. Now, I am a journalist. My job is to describe things. Now, after hearing so much that you can't describe the Rebbe's hakafas, I decided I have to go to describe it. So he went. And he says, what should I tell you? It's the first time in my life that I see something that you cannot describe. It's I'm going to try as much as I can. If I describe to you the bleachers of people standing on the sides, the roar of the crowd as they sing, the Rebbe's jumping and clapping, whatever I describe to you does not give you the feeling of being there in Hakafis. And as I tell Bachram nowadays, look at any video you want, and the Rebbe clapping and making freilach. You try and get the feeling, even if it's also not the same when you're watching a video of Fabring instead of being there. But that kafas was completely different. It was at a different level. I never understood it. In a way, I say, Baruch Hashem, I never saw the Rebbe's hakafas until I was bar mitzvah. A year after, actually, I was 14. So this way I was able to appreciate the difference. What was like to dance before, and what was like afterwards. There's no Simchas Torah anywhere in the world. It just doesn't exist. I'll say to anybody, give me 5 minutes of the Rebbe's hakafas, more than hours of dancing in a different shul. The best dance, when people really get into it, yeah. But these are Masber. So that was, having said that, you begin to start explaining why you can't describe Simchas Torah. Anyway, so there's some anecdotes. It's not funny, but they would be mechaba different people for hakafa. Sometimes there are bonim. I remember Shmini Atzeres, Tashon Lamed Vav. Is mechabed alla Franzose so hakafa. All the Frenchies. I told you I was standing between the Russians and the Frenchies. Baruch Hashem, I was a little closer to the Russians. I blinked. I'm telling you, I blinked. The bleachers were empty on my left side where the Frenchies were. Suddenly it was gone. A moment they were there, the next moment they weren't there. They landed on top of Yitzchak Holzberg, poor guy, they had to schlep him out, they gave him oxygen. Wild people. I see one bacher standing there without a hat, without a jacket, missing a shoe. He bends down and picks up 2 tzitzis from the floor and rolls them up and puts them inside his pocket. I don't know if he was like a pillar with a hat or not, but I definitely saw him pick up 2 tzitzis and put them inside his pocket. It was like, that's some anecdotes, but especially to see the Rebbe dancing, to see the Rebbe, like you say, to hear the hakafas, as the Rebbe would clap in the whole. I mean, one of the nigunim, which my favorite, the Chakan and Rishayim. And I come to one tenua, hey, so the Rebbe would he must have heard it from everybody who was there.
It's actually on the recording. It's on the recording.
Yeah, it's a little
on the recording.
He's standing next to people who didn't know what the Rebbe was doing because they repeat themselves. But it's missing it in the recording. It doesn't have the. Yeah. It seems like he was standing far away, which shows you how loud the Rebbe's voice was.
Right.
Seems like he's standing very far away. Amazing. Anyway, but the Rebbe would sing, so they would start singing Harkani. So, can you imagine just like for a full minute, maybe more, I don't know, it's hard to time it. Just singing, until suddenly with one clap, and the Rebbe and the whole crowd. It was like, such a, the way the Rebbe's hands were conducting the niggin the whole time. It was, even later years when they would sing a niggin before the Rebbe came in. This guy's dancing, this guy's jumping, this guy's pushing, And the Rebbe walks in, they make a path for the Rebbe to go in. And the Rebbe goes over to his place. And usually they would sing this song. They sing this song. And as the Rebbe goes over to his place, he puts down the siddur, it turns around. And suddenly the whole 770 is one unison. Everybody's together. Everybody's jumping in unison with the Rebbe's hand clap. It was like, I loved it. Maybe chitzonistic pieces, but this is like, one of the highlights. The Rebbe comes in and everything's like, a few years ago, for years I didn't want to go to 770 after Gimel Tammuz for Simchas Torah. 1 year I didn't have the thing not to go, so I went. And I'm there like, anyway. But it reminded me, the whole Hakafas reminded me of the time when you wait for the Rebbe to come in. It's like, it's like, wait, it's not happening yet. When's the Rebbe come? That's a reminder, the noise, the dust, yeah. So I'll say a shame, but it's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a pizza shop in the Catskills with a friend of mine. And Rabbi Bamzer comes over to us. I didn't know who he is. I didn't know who Rabbi Bamzer is. But he came over, he says, "You guys are Lubavitchers?" We said, yeah. He said something that made us say something like, we're waiting for the Rebbe to come back. We're waiting for Mashiach to come, we want to see the Rebbe again. He said something like that, something in a tone of yearning as opposed to a tone of, freilach. So he said, when Rabbi Akiva's Chaverim saw the wolf, the fox coming out of the Beis HaMikdash, they started crying. And Rabbi Akiva started laughing. And everybody knows what they said, how come you laughed, and how come he explained himself, how it came up. But I have a whole different pshat. Yeah. Rabbi Akiva saw, Yidden was weinen. He saw that there are still Jews who are crying over the Churban Beis HaMikdash, and he started laughing. He said, you know what? If there are still people who are crying over the Churban, then Mitzvah Hashem is going to be okay. As long as there are people who still realize that we're waiting for the Rebbe to come in. Right. And there's noch nicht da. It's very rich.
That's a geschmack pshat.
It's very rich. But which other Negunim stood out by Hakafis in your memory?
It's hard to say because the Negunim were generally, I don't know. There were Negunim which were kavua, like Chokarne, Alasela, Hochach. Those are the two that I remember were always kavua. And of course the Hakafis Nigin. That was for the Rebbe's Hakafah. But then there was times when the Rebbe would say to sing Nigin. I remember Tashel Lamed Zayin. And the Rebbe, it was the first time I think the Rebbe said a Sichta in the middle of Hakafis. And that was a strange, that was very interesting. The Rebbe, there was a whole to-do then in Chevron, in Kippur, before Yom Kippur, the Arabs went into the cave of Yaakov Avinu, and they destroyed some things there. I think they ripped up the Leina Tusa for Torah. It was like the Rebbe was very upset what was going on over there. In Kippur, for Ne'ilah, the Rebbe was crying. And even the march, the Rebbe called up the children to come onto his bima. Maybe you heard about that. The Rebbe called up the children to come to his bima for Avinu Malkeinu. And during the Kaddish, after Avinu Malkeinu, they say that it was crying terribly. I couldn't tell from being in the middle of the shul, but we saw something was going on. The Rebbe wanted all the children to come up to him, and then the Rebbe went up into the chair for the march. It was very schwach, very, very schwach. The Rebbe stood and made like this with his hands a few times and went off. So I'd say in a certain sense that Shmini Atzeres the Rebbe made up for that, if you could say. So the Rebbe started the Sikha. Now, also, I'll tell you a difference, which I remember, Lamed Vav and Lamed Zayin. First time I was there, every Hakafa, not the Hakafa that the Rebbe went, but the five in the middle, the Rebbe would step forward from his place to the middle of the davening bina, and he would clap him either the niggin from there. That was Tasha Lamed Vav. Lamed Zayin, the Rebbe had a very bad cold. Very mamish, you could tell the whole time. Vav Tishrei in the middle of the Maimer, the Rebbe was sniffing the whole time. It was a very bad cold. And so the Rebbe was leaning on his stender, with his back onto his stender, and the Rebbe was leaning the whole Hakafis. The Rebbe was clapping very strongly. He was leaning on the stender. Here it comes to Hakafa Dalad or Hakafa Hey, whatever, Melech Elamim. Look at it. Hakafa Dalad or Hakafa Hey. And the Rebbe stepped forward. And the Rebbe looked to Moshe Pinchas Katz. Moshe Pinchas was the Gabe. He was announcing who was supposed to get the Hakafa. So the Rebbe looks towards him. The Rebbe starts saying something. And he became quiet. So now's the time to make Hakafis and Chevron. The Rebbe said that all the Levim should go to the Hakafa to show that Chevron belongs to the Levim, and so singen the Mashpia Yadua. And then the Rebbe takes a siddur, and the Rebbe screamed, like you say that V'hoya Zaracha, I would say louder than that. Scream, and here the Rebbe is facing the crowd. Melech Elam Mashiach. I can't swear. Scream. Melech Elam. So my name, by the time he got to our name, Karenu was like so loud. I don't know how you say so loud. Then the Rebbe studied the other psukim. The guys wanted to start singing already, and the other shocked because the Rebbe was saying the psukim, the small psukim. And no, the Marsh Yadua. So I sang the march, and the Rebbe started making freilach. And it was interesting, there was one guy there without a beard, quite close to the Rebbe's davening bima, and he kept on going like this to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe was going to him like this. It was very, whatever, but the cloud, the Rebbe very, very freilach in the march. Very freilach. It was one niggin stand. The next night, Simchas Torah night, again, the Rebbe said a sikha before the Hakafah. Again, the Rebbe said Melech Elamim. Then the Rebbe said that anyone who is in the Israeli army or Miluim or anything like that should go to this Hakafah. And there again, the Rebbe said, so the Rebbe said Melech Elamim, also very loud. But in my imagination, you can't tell if it's that way or not. The Shmini Atzeres was louder than Simchas Torah, but who knows? I guess because you're used to it already, so you know what you're expecting, sort of. And then they didn't know what song to sing. So the Rebbe says, Ashir Samecha. So he started singing Ashir Samecha. But that was, whatever, it was freilach, but it's a long time ago, so I can't tell you how freilach it was, but Hakafis is Hakafis. It was always...
I have to ask you about... Another thing that we who were not there have a very hard time imagining or visualizing is the Rebbe climbing up onto his chair. It's just a very difficult thing. Not the Rebbe standing on the chair. The Rebbe standing on the chair is another thing. But the Rebbe climbing up onto his chair, I don't understand it. It's not a simple thing to climb onto a chair when you're over the age of 60 or whatever, 70, 80. What is the shot? Somebody was holding the chair?
No.
And also the Rebbe's chair was very squishy. I mean, right. I don't mean to be so technical, but it goes.
I was wondering talking about that, and they say that was one of the reasons why they built later years. They built the stairs for the Rebbe to stand on. There's a painting going around. I'm still not seeing it.
Yeah.
A painting of the Rebbe standing on the stairs.
Yeah.
Which they built specially for the Napoleon's March. But Takaze, the label was scared. I mean, that was the first time I saw it. And the Rebbe put his hand onto his stender. Like use the stender as a levering point. and just picked himself up, left foot and his right foot, spin around. And he was like, I think the talus, most times, I think the talus was covering the Rebbe's face. Most times I remember. Again, that was a different, again, the Rebbe was transporting you to different heights. I once showed her in Postal a video of Motzi and Kippur, the Rebbe going out from the shul, Samachta, and the Rebbe was making freilach, and everybody's jumping. And there's a Polish guy, he says, how Motzi and Kippur after the fast is over, and the people are jumping as if. I said, just imagine what they did a few minutes before by Napoleon's march. This is on the way out.
Right.
It's yeah. Everything by the Rebbe was like, he pulled out of you koiches which you never knew you had. Especially Tashem Memches. Can't forget Tashem Memches. I'd like to repeat to you the seventh hakafon, Lil Simchas Torah. Besides one other point, that most of the years that I was there, and Baruch Hashem I was there 10 Simchas Torahs, but most of the years I was there, a hakafa was average 5 minutes. And again, be'erech 5 minutes. Simchas Torah Memches, every niggin was 10 to 15 minutes. It was unbelievable. The people were exhausted. I had a place which after, whatever, cheshbainis, you can think now if we made a good cheshbon or bad cheshbon, but the Rebbe used to dance. I saw the Rebbe a few times dancing Rashag. I went to murder the scene, but I've seen it. And Rashag, as the years went on, danced slower and slower. And for shorter, as soon as he would stop, so the Rebbe would stop because he couldn't do it anymore. I remember I heard a story of Rabbi Sudak. He said when he came back after the Yom Kippur War, Toshin Lamadalat, says in Simchas Torah by day, he said the Rebbe tzich vekit. Threw his talus over his face. By daytime, hakafas. The Rebbe was dancing with Rashag. He said it looked like the Rebbe tzich vekit. He was somewhere else. And the Rebbe is dancing and dancing and dancing. And Rashag couldn't. He was trying to stop. And the Rebbe looked like the Rebbe was not here. The Rebbe was just going and going. 2 guys went, he said. Person held Rashag, he failed to go around. And the Rebbe was partially going. But in general, all years, Rashag would stop. A Kenish, and the Rebbe would stop. Memches, the first time I saw, I know it happened in Malach also, Rashag was in the hospital. But besides that, Memches, the Rebbe, Rashag was complaining. The Shmini Atzeres night, the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked the Baal Yunik, what's he want? Hey, he's cold, whatever. He was very uncomfortable. No, I'm cold, so again, I felt bad for him. As they were taking him out, it was between the first and second Nata Harisa. And they're schlepping him up, and the Rebbe started to Freilach. And I felt bad for him. Like Rashag has to go out. Look what you're missing. You took him upstairs. And then the Rebbe started to make freilach every single niggin. It came to the 7th hakafa on the night of Simchas Torah. That year, Izzy Kogan, the tzaddik from Leningrad, he gave the Rebbe the Sefer Torah. And this was the only time ever. I couldn't see from where I was standing. I could see the Rebbe by his place perfectly. I stood closer to the Aron Kodesh. If you're facing the Aron Kodesh, on the left side, the bleach over there. I don't know who was next to me, who was near me, Lippe Brennan, Rebbe Vogel. And from there, you couldn't see the Rebbe dancing in his hakafa. So, by there I came to the Rebbe's hakafa, and this time we're missing because, okay, the place you got for yourself, that's where you are. And you're watching the Eilam. And you see the people on this side, red in the face, screaming with all the koyach. And then suddenly you see these people, and the people on that side screaming and singing and jumping with all the kayach. And then suddenly you see people on this side are screaming and that side they're panting. It was like, you could tell which side there was facing just from the crowd. But the Rebbe man let us work on the other 5 hakafas. Every hakafa there was working in. And I'm telling you, the Rebbe's eyes were burning. He was looking at every single person. You could see it. And also there was a chiddush there which I never saw before. People were saying l'chaim in the middle of hakafas. I never saw that. And people realized that I was answering l'chaim, so they started bringing more l'chaim. And everybody from all sides, it's like if I'm bringing almost. And there was l'chaim in the middle of the nigunim. And there was answering l'chaim also. Strange. But the nigunim, and then after the 7th hakafa, they came back to this place, but the Rebbe held on to the Sefer Torah. He walked up to his davening bima, and that year they put a bima on top of a bima. So the Rebbe was very high. He looked, to me, it looked like the Rebbe was almost going to, that slanty piece in the front and the roof. Now they dropped the ceiling, you can't tell that much. The slanty piece looked almost like the Rebbe was going to, if he jumps too high, he's going to bang his hat inside that. Because the Rebbe was very high. And mamish, they put a bima on top of a bima. So the Rebbe was so high. And the Rebbe went up. He's holding onto the Sefer Torah, small Sefer Torah. And he went like this to all the people on his bima to get down, waiting for them to bend down. It was always full of people. And the Rebbe was waiting for them to bend down. And then the Rebbe started singing Ofaratsta. I had never, ever seen a niggun like that. Mama, she's doing Sefer in all directions. And the Rebbe was jumping. At one point, I saw the Rebbe's shoes off the floor. But I saw him. The Rebbe was jumping backwards on the floor. I couldn't believe it. And when the niggun was over, it was a long time. I don't know how long that niggun was. It was a long time that Ufaratsta. Never, ever have I seen Ufaratsta like that. A niggun like that. Then there was then the Kogan gets up to take the Sefer. And label's like, go. He saw the Rebbe wasn't ready to give the Sefer yet. And the Rebbe started yet. Also freilich, not as much as the Ufaratsta, but also very, very freilich. And then the Rebbe wants to give the Sefer Torah over to Kogan to put inside the Aron Kodesh. And the Rebbe gave a kiss. It's indescribable. I mean, you don't see the Rebbe kissing someone. Okay, you see him kissing his film. Wasn't the same. You saw the Rebbe's love for the Torah. It brought tears to my eyes. See the Rebbe kiss the Sefer Torah like that. Anyway. I spoke to some of my friends afterwards. I've never seen anything like it. Azay got kush to the Sefer Torah. And that was a hakafa. There was Pashat Mamshich, the 7th hakafa, on the davening bin. It was unbelievable. And they claim that's one of the good which stands out.
So every year how unusual was it that the Rebbe went up to his bima with the Sefer Torah?
I think it never happened. As far as I understand, that never happened. I've never heard about it anyway. Because always before, when the Rebbe was still on the floor near his bima, closer to the Aron Kodesh, he would give the Sefer Torah back. So put inside the Aron Kodesh. I don't think it ever happened before. Not that I know of.
And did you ever see the Rebbe kiss a Sefer Torah like that? Never. It was always with the talis.
Yeah. You didn't see the Rebbe kissing. I mean, what stands out in your mind always, the Rebbe goes through a door, he touches the mezuzah.
Doesn't kiss it. But even the Sefer Torah, which the Friedrich Rebbe says in the Likutei Diburim, dafke with 2 hands and dafke with your lips on the Torah, but the Rebbe didn't do it.
No.
And here he did.
And trying to remember what the Rebbe did when he was Chazan and they gave him the Sefer Torah. I don't remember. Definitely wasn't noticeable. And here it was so noticeable.
But you're saying the Rebbe kisses Sefer Torah with his mouth, not with it. Not.
Yeah, that was, yeah. It was just the thing, that kiss itself was a myriad thing. think. I'm sure I remember it. And anyway, every year has its own stories, you know. I remember it was Tashim Mem Hey, Tashim Mem Zayin. It was also one of my books stories, but we'll get into that. Take another Yom Mitzvah. But what was it? The Chalal, you know, the Niggin, we want Mashiach now, we want Mashiach now. The Chalal, when they sung that Niggin with those words, the Rebbe would not be ma'ided the Niggin. There's one time I remember when the kids came from camp, Chaf Av, and then they sang that Niggin, and then the Rebbe was ma'ided very, very strongly. But besides that, the Rebbe was not ma'ided. There was, I think the first time they put words in that Niggin was Purim Tashim and Beis. Purim Tashim and Beis was the Yidua. The Rebbe asked for one volunteer to say L'chaim Ad Liyada.
Purim Tashim and Beis is where you and me met. That video, that clip of that Russian Niggin, is where you and I met. So, yes, that's very special. And you pointed it out then, that the second they added words to it, the second they added the words, we want Mashiach now, the Rebbe stopped reacting to the song.
He stopped. He was looking around. So I remember one year, again, I don't remember which year it was, something like, again, one of the mems, I don't remember which year. Mem Hey, Mem Vav, Mem Zayin, I read them. They're singing this Niggin. We want Mashiach now. And I see the Rebbe starting from his left. The Rebbe looks at every single person in the shul. I'm on that side. So I'm almost at the end of the round. And I say to myself, oy vey, the Rebbe is trying to see if we really mean it. That's what it is. I really want to mean it. You know. And the Rebbe was looking at every single person. He looked all the way around to the last person standing on the bleacher near the Aron HaKodesh on this side. And then he looked back again. And every single, did not clap, did not move his hand, nothing. And he looked at every single person in the shul. When he finished looking at everybody twice, he turned around, was the end of the Lakafah. That was it.
By the way, the idea that you can't describe Simchas Torah, the process of describing why Simchas Torah is indescribable is already a description. Is also something. Yediyas Hashlila is also a Yediyah. So I have to thank you very much for that. That's very, very, it's very real.